What's going on here? Oh my God, we can't seem to be getting my camera working here. What's wrong with my camera? Okay, that's a bit better. Sorry, guys, I don't think I was very clear there before. Can you all see me? You can. Let's go try and work out. The camera's going to fall in that way. Now it's not. Looks like I've cut it straight for some reason. Devanshu Mittal, how are you? So it's Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Sports or Eyes on Cricket. I've got myself in some unusual sort of format there. I don't know why that's happened. Removed from stage, so okay, banners, brand. This is playing some silly buggers here today. All right, everyone. So I'm here. It's Norman Kochnick. We're here to talk about the Border Gavasker Trophy. As you all know, this particular, the BGT as they're calling it now, is certainly one of great importance to a lot of people in the world, especially Australia and India, and quite frankly, all cricketing nations. Hello, Wazir Khan, I'm live actually I'm in Sydney, Australia. I was at an event today for 50-year and 70-year members of the Sydney Cricket Ground. So effectively, I've been at that many, but I'm going to be going around all the grounds, seeing all the tests from, obviously we've got Perth first, they're going to follow on to Adelaide, which is great. I've actually got a room in the Oval Hotel, which I'm very, very excited about. So there's any guests coming up? No, not yet. Um, so I'm in the Oval Hotel, which is actually attached to Adelaide Oval. I'll also be, obviously there's Brisbane, Melbourne, and then finally Sydney. Now let's hope it's 2-2 with Sydney to come, making it 3-2. India's way or Australia's way? That's the interesting question. So basically, guys, we're going to have a situation where you can actually see I've got some new background there. I've got the background of the 48 Invincibles, actually, 1948 Invincibles. So here we go, light of Asia. It's considering the Perth pitch is toss going to be a crucial role here. We'll get into the toss in a minute. My predictions are also going to talk about my predictions. I think for the first test, we'll probably be in favour of Australia, to be honest with you. But I think Adelaide might be a leveller, potentially. And then Melbourne might go Australia's way. And then, of course, with actually, the way I see it very quickly, a very early prediction will be Perth, Australia, Adelaide. I'm going to say India, Brisbane, Australia, then Melbourne, India, leaving the fifth test to be the decider. On a spinning track, let's see with the likes of Ashwin, Jadeja, Washington Sundar. Very interesting. So that's my prediction. Will be 3-2 India's way, but it could well be 3-2 Australia's way as well. So we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about Australia never lost in Perth. Manu John's online. I can say, yes, you are very, very true. We've never lost in Perth. You're right. I think Glenn Maxwell should be included in the BGT and Sri Lanka tour in Test format. Ajahad Khan, I actually agree. I think he's a player that they're missing there. We'll get into the teams very shortly, both the Australian team and the Indian team. The Indian team, well, very interestingly, I've had a lot of discussions with a couple of my colleagues about those teams, both from India and abroad, other countries, and it's very mixed bag. Hello, Rowarach, 45 plus. What's this? 45 plus 18. I don't know what that is. I'm going to be joined by David Graveney hopefully soon, and also the likes of Chris Vernon for the English contingent. Indian contingent, Behram Arani will be around, I'm pretty sure. Over time, we'll probably get a few others as well. When can the crowd capacity expected in Perth? Well, at Optus Stadium, as it's called, is a massive stadium. It's right up there with it's basically, you know, upwards of 40,000, to be honest with you. Very special size. I'm just trying to get this now. Okay. What can be okay? So I think the crowd capacity will be well over 40,000. for sure. Akash Suresh, do you think Australia will turn up for the BGT? Australia will turn up. Yeah, I'm sure they will. I think super chat option. What's that, Rowan? I'm not sure what the super chat option is. When I show it like that, no, it's not off. I think it should include Ben Webster and Border. Jay Hart, Khan, I don't think so. Not at this point. Okay, let's take one. A lot of questions coming through, guys. We're waiting for David Gravy to come online, but it's pretty clear the Indian side's been somewhat decimated batting wise, with Shubman Gill out, Rohit Sharma with his wife back in India. Some doubt over Kohli's back as well, we've heard. But I think the teams, I shouldn't say they'll be what people expect them to be, because I've written on if you've seen my community side of my page, have you all seen the community side of the page? I put some sides in there, which obviously we know that Bumrah will be the captain of India, as will Pat Cummins be the captain of Australia. Got a guest here, David Gravity is joining us. Page.
Hi, Norman.
How are you, David?
How's your world travels? Every time I go on the line, you're somewhere different in the world.
Yes, well, I'm back in Australia now, David. Well and truly.
Good.
I've just noticed that someone's trying to eat my chicken. But I have been, yes, and I'll include the viewers in this discussion. I've been, well, last year was a lot of Africa, subcontinent as well, into America. And this year, a lot of the South Pacific, the likes of Samoas and Tongas and Tuvalu and Fiji.
Very good. Very, very envious. So, apart from that, you're in good shape?
Well, I'd say I'm more shapely rather than good shape.
Oh, shape.
So it's funny, I went today, David, to a 50-year and 70-year members lunch for the SCG.
Right.
So I'm guessing Lords would have that as well, wouldn't they? They have pretty, or most of the.
Yeah. They quite like an event. I must admit, I went to was involved in the Brian Johnson Memorial Trust, which gave deserving young cricketers bursaries to buy equipment and things like that. So we've been doing that for about 30 years. It's sort of under the banner of the Lord's Taverners, basically. So
Right.
And a lot of guys who are now playing for England, men and women, were beneficiaries. So it went to the right place. It was really actually to fund the best spinners in the country, because that's what Brian Johnson liked to follow, and he paid for a specific bursary for one spinner to go and spend a couple of months with Terry Jenner.
Right.
And I would suggest, without wishing to be disparaging to Terry Jenner, I think they probably learned how to drink as well as bowl leg spin when they were there. So and so we spread it out to more people, basically. So
right.
Yeah, very worth it. Had a final ever dinner. Jonathan Agnew spoke, because he obviously worked with Brian Johnson. They keep playing that Radio X of Ian Botham sort of vaulting the stumps, which it's not childish, just two people just laughing uncontrollably on radio. So they keep playing it time and time again. So
I'm getting lots of people commenting, by the way, as you're talking. Heaps of people making comments.
Yeah.
And they're going and they're really digging into the test teams for this Australia-India series aboard the Gavasker Trophy. So have you had a look at the squads at all?
Well, all I've seen is that people are not playing, in terms of either being injured, having babies, or doing whatever.
Well, at least their partners having babies. The players not having the babies.
Yeah,
as well.
That's right. So is Gill broken his thumb?
Well, they're saying it's not as bad as a break, but it's damaged enough that he can't play the first test.
Right.
So apparently I believe he's been cleared of scans for a break. It's more of a damaged thumb, so he'll be out. Significant swelling and bruising there, but no break. So he'll be out definitely for the first match. And of course, Sharma's gone. And then, of course, Dave Warner's not there as well. Although he bloody well wants to keep on saying, I'm
I know.
available.
Give me a ring. I'll come out of retirement. And
That makes me sick.
It appears to get a very abrupt response from your convener of selectors. So
George Bailey.
Yeah. So when you retire, retire. That's it. So
Yeah, it's a little bit of a backhander to the players coming through to say that in front of them. And anyway, we'll get to the Australian selections in a minute. But I like to. I mean, actually, let's start with the Australian side. It's probably a bit more of an easier discussion. Clearly, you've heard of Nathan McSweeney. Have you seen him play, David?
Actually, I met somebody. This is what a small world it is, Norman. I went to, because I'm sort of now vice chairman at Gloucestershire. I went to see the induction of their academies, and there's a young lad who's on the academy, and talking to the parents about how his son is going to be, what he's going to do, reaffirming to them that actually education is a really important thing in my mind, so that his school wouldn't be compromised. And then he suddenly said, "Well, have you heard about this McSweeney?" And I said, "Well, I have seen it. I followed it because Cameron Bancroft played for Gloucestershire and did really well. Right. Harris played for Gloucestershire and did really well. So there was a link." And Cameron Bancroft, sadly for him, because he's a delightful guy, is working on semaphore at present. He's either 0-1 or 0-1, or so he'll be down in the dumps about missing that opportunity. So one door shuts on one person, opens on another. And this guy, McSweeney, had stayed with these parents in the UK over the last few years, playing club cricket in Somerset. So they knew him really well. So
there you go.
So he stayed as a youngster at 14 and then came back again last year and played club cricket against the likes of Banton, Smead, people that your listeners would have heard of playing T20 in the UK. So they spoke really highly of him as a person, not necessarily his cricketing ability. So.
Well, we're getting people. Manchu, who's a regular, says he has been consistent performance since past two Shield matches, and then George Bristol comes out and says McSweeney will probably score a king pair. Not up to it, Himanshu, he reckons. Oh, that's very harsh. But I must quickly say, is he okay? My burning question, and it really gets on my nerves. And I heard the likes of Usman Khawaja and David Warner talking about this recently. They think that the openers are not specialist positions, and anyone can open if they apply themselves. Now, I was quite annoyed by that.
I disagree. Well, certainly in the UK, because of the Duke ball or the combination of the balls, wickets, weather. There are people not wanting to open the batting and want to bat in the middle order because it's too challenging up front, where people are having to say, right. And it's actually slightly old-fashioned, Norman, that they go in and I'm not saying they have to bat like Jeff Boycott, but it's more around, what balls can I leave and just concentrate on what I have to play until you get in. So they realise in most attacks, I suppose the Australians are better than most, that they could sustain high-quality seam bowling for quite a long time, like in that first session. So. It's a balance of survival is a bit over the top, but just giving you a chance to play. Fine. You could tee off like a Warner or anything like that. You might have some success from time to time, but in the end, the way that the ball behaves, I think it's very difficult. The guys who open the batting, whether it be Warner or anybody else, if you've got Bumrah bowling from one end, you will be challenged, because he is an exceptional bowler.
Now, that basically that supports my view. Khawaja's there. He's the very regular opener now, deservedly so, and he could well be a pivotal part of the Test team. My thoughts, Nathan McSweeney could well be, having been already under 19s captain and of some note in the Australia A side as captain, he could be a future captain. But and they're putting him in as opener. I'm frustrated because I don't think he should be put there. For example, Ricky Ponting was batting at 6 before he went up the order. I know he's different, but I think that they should have not put McSweeney as an opener. I think they should have went the full throttle and even taken a slightly bigger risk, but an appropriate person for an opener is Sam Costas. I've seen him play. I tell you what, his technique is
Well,
really good.
I've seen him play a lot, as it happens, Norman, because he was
Really?
mainstay in the Australian under-19s, who toured the UK, then played in the World Cup, and England played Australia in that. And you know, he's a good player, very good player.
But he's an
And
opener. But he's an
yeah,
opener, which is good.
it's an opener, but again, since his name was mentioned and he played in that A game and gone back to New South Wales, he hasn't got a run either. So he
Yeah,
only
but
he
because he
only
had a
he,
couple of failures, but that should not be the reason why he's selected or not selected,
no, that
really.
was just how that works out from time to time. You always want, as a selector in my previous life, is to try and select people when they're in the best possible form, and not when they're sort of in a slightly downward curve. So,
But he also scored 2 centuries back to
yeah.
back in a match, which was absolutely phenomenal batting. And my
Well,
God,
I was surprised he wasn't mentioned, because leading up to when they were going to make a decision, Harris wasn't getting any runs, Bancroft wasn't getting any runs, and Costas was getting runs. So it would be normal for Australia not to gamble, but to back youth. And that seems to be a bit of a trend worldwide these days. Certainly the UK, England have done that. I know it's not your format anyway, Norman, but the young Indian players who were playing in the one-day matches against South Africa were just outstanding, and they'd all played under-19 cricket only 2 or 3 years ago. So, yeah, but I think that going with youth is a really good idea, but not to say that the choice that they've chosen now won't fail. I wish him well. You know, can't go on publicly and say I hope he gets a king pair. You know, that's ridiculous.
well, George Bristol's making more comments. He's saying Mitch Marks, a flat track bully, will get found out by the Indian seamers. That could be right. I don't deny that.
How
They're
fit is he?
talking Jack Fraser McGurk and Maxwell in the test team. Those two. I mean, Maxwell could well be. I think Fraser McGurk's a dasher. I don't think so, but we'll see. All right, okay. So,
But Maxwell was limping off during the last game he played, and they were suggesting he had a hamstring injury.
yeah, correct. But he wasn't in contention. I don't think. Mitch Marsh seems to have solidified his position, especially because Cam Green's not there. So, and he's out for some time actually with his injury, his operation he had. In fact, he could be out for 12 months potentially.
Yeah.
So, okay, it looks as though they're going to open with both McSweeney and Kawaja. But
Yeah.
you know what? Josh Inglis is sitting there on the sidelines too. He's certainly a capable opening batter in his own right. I would have preferred. I think he's been in great form as well. So another one they
Yeah,
might
no,
pick.
I think he's a really good player. But this is tested out Australia. You know, David Warner's record is outstanding. To replace David Warner, there wasn't a ready-made somebody to come in and fill his shoes. So, yeah. And obviously the Steve Smith
Should never open. No way. So okay, that puts Labuschagne at 3, who thinks he's the next Pujara all of a sudden, which I thought was hilarious. But
I find it quite entertaining, not as a batsman, but as a person more than anything else.
he's kooky. He's on another planet.
But how other people talk about him and say, well, he's got to have a bowl because you just. And I've seen that happen in Glamorgan when he was playing, and he's really, really popular there as well. Is that, you know, he started off bowling leg spin, and then if the seamers aren't getting any wickets, give me the ball, I'll bowl seam as well. So, you know, just unbounded enthusiasm, I put it as.
So looking, okay, so you've got McSweeney, Kawaja, Labuschagne, obviously Smith's at 4.
Yeah.
They're probably going to put at 5 well, Mitch Marsh more than likely, and then Alex Carey will probably go up to 6. I think that's the way they'll.
Where's Travis Head in this?
Oh, my apologies. I think I'll take that out. I've left him out. I'll go back and start again. Kawaja with McSweeney, then comes Labuschagne Smith, then probably Travis Head, then Mitch Marsh, Alex
right.
Carey. And
Yeah.
that obviously leaves the 4 bowlers who we know who they are.
Yeah.
It'll be obviously Lyon, Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins. How's this? I was a young girl from England. I met, and she needed a lift to Cricket New South Wales. So I said, I'll give you a lift. And I didn't have any reason to go to Cricket New South Wales. I've got a new place called Cricket Central. It's
Right.
in the middle. It's close to the Olympic Stadium. It's a new ground, all plush and nicely done, with an academy next to it. That's where Cricket New South Wales have got a headquarters now. Now this young girl, and I've forgotten her name now. I think it was Name Nahmm.
Where was their headquarters at the SCG before that?
Before that, yes, correct.
Yeah.
Now it's moved entirely to this location in Homebush, and near Homebush. It's actually close to Silverwater, as a matter of fact, near the jail. And it's called Cricket Central. So I dropped her off there. She was going to training with the women's cricket New South Wales team. And I'm looking out in the middle of the field, and I thought, who are these guys practicing? They had blue outfits on. I saw Mitchell Stark. Mitchell Stark, what are you doing here? And there was Hazelwood, all of a sudden Lyons there, and Cummins. And they're all bowling to Steve Smith. And that it was centre wicket practice, and that was it. And they're all incognito because there was absolutely no one watching. And I had great video coverage of these guys playing. And I saw Pat Cummins practicing his batting, and it was quite funny because they were not even yet in Perth. They were here still in Sydney. Anyway, so yeah, okay. So
Red Bull, they needed some Red Bull practice, didn't it? Because
they
they
did.
haven't had much of that. So.
Well, Steve Smith faced all 4 of them, so and he apparently looked quite good. So yeah, again, McSweeney with Kawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Mitch Marsh, Alex Carey, then the bowling quartet of the 4
Alex
that we know.
Carey has to be 7 to allow the 4 bowlers.
Correct.
So it's just working out who the top 6 are. So,
well, it'll be Head and Marsh will be there. Above them will be Labuschagne and Smith, with openers McSweeney and of course Kawaja. Josh English is certainly knocking on the door. Next cab off the rank, I think. But I would have put Sam Costas in, to be honest, but that's my thoughts. But as you agree, that would have been the right selection.
No,
so I think
as long as they, say the right things to him, that it actually, just try and keep as many, batting, keep on batting. Sometimes you're close, but not close enough. So, you can't really say next cab on the rank, but your closest selection just keep scoring runs. Exactly. I had this question asked of me when I was chairman of selectors: what do I do to have to play for England? And if you analyse that question, it's the most stupid question of all time. There's no replacement for either runs or wickets. So just get more. So
exactly. This George Bristol, I think he's a name changer here. He says, yes, again, military medium paces they do well. To mention another fellow online, Bumrah will skittle them. Yeah, Bumrah's a massive danger. And look, I'm still impressed with Siraj. They've got a few bowlers sitting there that are really going to be impressive. It's going to be interesting on how India bowl their attack. And I think with Bumrah being captain, he's extra motivated to do well, I think.
He will do. But it's, again, the balance of their attack, really. In order to have a 5-man attack, Pant has got to be one of the major players. That wasn't the problem because he's actually one of their best players, but does slightly weaken. Well, I don't know whether it does weaken actually, because if you look at the runs that Jadeja and Ashwin get, if they are the 2 spinners,
yeah.
But they are quite keen on playing Yadav, aren't they? So, but I think on Australian wickets that might be a bit of a risk, really.
So okay, we've talked about the Australian, so I think it's pretty much, other than McSweeney, there's no necessarily any surprises there. But okay, let's look at the Indian team. And obviously we've mentioned Rohit Sharma and Gill are both out. They probably would have been in the top 3 with Jaiswal. But
Yeah.
now that they're gone, it'll be probably more. Jaswal was obviously still open. His partner is the big question. What have you observed anything from your perspective? Who could fill that
But
role?
if you lose two of your top three, that actually is a bit of a challenge, really, because they haven't been playing any necessarily red ball cricket, and those
No.
who were playing, they got. I don't know how much you want to watch it, George, because you, uh, Norman, because you were travelling, but the New Zealanders did unbelievably well to beat them.
They did.
Uh,
I saw that. I actually did see that, and I was
and
quite shocked.
Well, New Zealand are, I think, really, if there's a side that sort of punches above its weight all the time, it's New Zealand, because they
No doubt.
find people to play. Their team spirit and their unity is just quite extraordinary. And
Absolutely.
under Latham, even when Williamson's not there, I thought they basically outplayed India on their own services. I personally wouldn't have played on services. It's a little bit like in Pakistan and England. If you make it an absolute road, then average bowlers can take wickets. If there's
Yeah.
just a little bit in the wicket, then the very best will be succeeding. So makes it a bit of a lottery. But yeah, and
Well, this pitch looks fast.
there are a few players, I'd have to say, in the Indian team who are not in the best form, or actually coming to the end of the road. Kohli didn't get a run either. So and a two spinner,
Especially at home, that's unusual, isn't it?
yeah. So they've got some issues. I don't know how much Red Bull registers with them, but a tour to Australia is, I would offer as equally, and if more, because of the strength of the Australian team, a more important tool for the Indian players. If they succeed in Australia against the current Australian attack, then you can say that you're up there as a player.
Now, here's this. In my 11, I didn't include KL Rahul. Now, why? Because I think apparently they're going to stick with Jarrell as the keeper, and Punt will be a batter, not a keeper.
Fine, then you can play in the top five then.
Yeah. So I don't know whether Rahul will be in the side. He may be there because of his experience, but Jaswal and Padikkal seem to be the ones that are more than likely going to open, what I can gather. And then with Kohli in,
I would always play Rahul at this stage. I know he runs a little bit hot and cold, and suddenly they throw in the gloves like in South Africa. I just think he's a quality player, and he's a test match player as well.
he played for the India A team in the game against Australia A, which was a bit confusing as to why he was playing that match if he's in the top 11.
Well, I think they're desperate. They were desperate for people to have red ball practice, Norman. So
I guess so.
I didn't see any problem with that. So.
All right. So would you have KL Rahul opening?
I personally wouldn't. I'd probably have him at 3.
And keep
Not to
Kohli
give
4?
protection to Kohli, but if you were playing against India, and the Kookaburra ball tends to do a little bit to start with, and it's a fair ball, but you've got to capitalise the first few overs, and the Australia will be desperate to get Kohli and Pant at the wicket when the ball's doing something.
Exactly.
One is not in the greatest nick, and the other one, to his credit, and very entertaining for the spectators, just attacks all the time. So
Jaswal, looks like he's.
Sorry, Noah?
I was going to say Jaswal looks like he's cemented one opening spot well and truly, though.
Yeah, no. And he's a left-hander. I do like the left-handed, right-handed scenario. I think it does. I think what does affect Australia, or the older Australian attack, is, and this is going back to Strauss and Cook, going with two left-handers, the Australian bowlers really struggle to find the right line to bowl. Tends to bowl very much on their pads. Left-handers eat that for breakfast. So yeah, Jaswal is good. Yeah, very good. And he was actually, to be fair, and I know it was in the wickets they were playing against New Zealand. You know, you'd be begging to be able to open the batting, because with the new ball, that was the only time you were actually going to get some runs. But he played really well.
Now, Durrell, okay, it looks like they're giving Punt the go to be a full-time batter rather than an all-rounder keeper, that is. So, Durrell, solid play, played pretty.
They've got to protect his body, to be fair, Norman. It's one thing. It's one thing keeping in a limited over game, but keeping in a test match, and it could be for a day and a half, is given the miraculous recovery he's had from a death-threatening car crash. I think they're doing the right thing, is to just let him go out to pasture, if that's the right expression, and just run around the field for a bit.
All right, so that Patakal and Jaiswal, so Patakal coming in for Sharma, Gill being replaced by effectively Rahul, with Kohli at 4, Punt at 5. Now, Jurel's good enough batter to bat at 6, so is Jadeja. So they might mix one of those two around.
Yeah.
They've got this exciting player called Reddy they're talking highly of. I haven't seen much of him. Have you seen much of him?
Only on TV.
Well, he's apparently, well, Hardik Pandya was the flavour of the month a few years ago. He seems to be now touted as the next one.
The other guy who was playing, Safraz, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, he is certainly a run machine and he's quite spectacular. But they're saying that he's not appropriate for Australia at this stage of his career, which is a pity. I would have put him in, but I would have put him at the expense of Rahul.
Why? Well, do they think the bouncing ball will affect him?
Well, he's quite short.
In the last match, the spinning ball also wasn't top of the tree for him either, because I think he either got 0 or 1 in the match. Not that you drop anybody for that, but I think if you're either a player is good enough to play Test match cricket or not, Norman. You can't decide that he can't play against this attack on these services, and we'll save him something else. He has, and he's got runs playing Test match cricket. So yeah, I see that.
But then you have to leave Rahul out, I would say, if that's the case.
Well, I don't know too much about Jurel. He's the keeper, isn't he?
He's the keeper.
And Reddy?
All rounder.
Right.
Because they're wanting to not have two spinners, and they believe Reddy's got the ability in Australian conditions to handle that mixed role.
Yeah. Well, I can understand where they're coming from, but that's a great danger, I think. And I learned that sort of in my playing career. Sometimes if you pick an all-rounder to try and cover two bases, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to have a fifth bowler and lengthen the batting. And then if that person, and I'd say I haven't seen him play, and I hope he does really well, but sometimes you can fall between the two. In other words, you're not good enough to do either. A proper all-rounder should be selected on just one skill if he's good enough, in terms of either the batting or the bowling.
Yeah, so that's the question. But I mean, they've all forgotten Washington Sundar and how well he played last time in Australia. He was excellent, and he's been playing well in India. He bowled quite well as well. So I think Washington Sundar should be considered over Reddy. My own thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think they're more worried. Looking at the way he played against New Zealand, Norman, they're more worried about posting a score.
True.
They got rolled over pretty regular in that series. So I think that they realise playing any match, if you don't get enough runs and post a score, it doesn't matter what bowlers you have. You're going to be struggling. So I think, and then losing two of the major players. I think this is a really interesting series. It would have been good because I think Rohit and Kohli, as brilliant players as they are, and still are, they're coming to the end of the road, really, for me.
Well, so is Steve Smith, and so is Kawaji, would argue as well, especially age. Kawaji's almost 38, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
He's certainly getting there.
Well, he
Okay.
won next winter or your summer for the Ashes, won't he? So
Yeah. So
that
Bumrah's
normally
obviously there.
promotes a few retirements, the Ashes, or by the end of the Ashes. So that's
They need to be retired after an Ashes series. Retires you big time. So, okay, Bumrah and Siraj are certainly going to be there. Mohammad Shami is recovering and, in fact, bowled well at home. He might be here later on. The question is, okay, Jadeja seems to be, apparently in the nets, he was batting more than he was bowling, and Ashwin was bowling more than he was batting. So I'm not sure whether that's, they're probably not going to go with Ashwin and Perth. He might be more the Melbourne Sydney tracks for him.
so they're
So
playing the new ground or the old grounds.
new ground, Optus Stadium.
What are the features of the new grounds?
They're not unlike the Wacker, to be honest with you. They are mainly good true bounce and carry.
Because Shane Warne
Not
liked to bowl at the Wacker, didn't he? Because he thought
he
that
did. He did.
it's to get some bounce and eventually he would turn a little bit. But it's more the bounce. He felt that was a real key weapon, and the pace in the wicket. Spinners need pace as well, because if they're really slow, you could just play off the back foot depending on whatever you do. So you need to be able to exploit a batting error in terms of judgment of length and line, and you can only do that with a spinner if there's pace in the wicket, because people will adjust.
So who would you pick for the bowlers then for India? Would you pick Jadeja over Ashwin?
I would, yeah.
Would you
I think he just I think he just gets more people out on flattish wickets.
Yep.
I think Ashwin is a really hard guy to read. He gets wickets when he shouldn't, and then when you expect him to, he doesn't get a hatful, because I think his main threat are getting the ball to go the other way, to do so.
Okay.
And I think people are getting used to that. So, but you're talking about real two high quality performers who both,
very much so.
And that's the key thing for India. Otherwise, you're going in with 5 bowlers if you're not careful.
So Bumrah, Siraj probably picked themselves. I've got here Krishna as one of the choices they've got, or they can also bring in Ashdeep Singh, who I thought was particularly good. I think he's a very good bowler.
Yeah, I think the left arm. He's the left arm seamer, isn't he?
Krishna.
No, not Krishna. You were saying about Singh.
Yeah, Ashdeep. Yeah, he is. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I quite like a left arm seamer if you've got him.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
the other person, okay, Mohammad Shami's going to be back soon enough. And we've also got in the mix, well, I just said Bumrah and Siraj, but they need to look at bowlers that have done well in Australia now. That's very important. And I'm really sad that Shadul Thakur's out of form, because I loved his all-round play that he put forward, especially with Washington Sundar in the Brisbane Test. It was fantastic.
Yeah. No. They definitely. But see, Bumrah is a class above anybody else. Shiraz pace, but he can run hot and cold. If he suddenly doesn't bowl the right length, and I think that if the new Perth wicket is the same as the old one, it is really misleading in terms of the bounce. England bowlers have found it a real graveyard in terms of bowling too short. They get ever so excited when the ball flows through, but in fact, the perfect length tends to be a Glenn McGrath length, which was a bit farther pitched up, trying to get people to come forward a little bit, that in between length, and not get too excited about bowling bounces all the time. And Shiraz strikes me as a bit like that as a bowler.
But I'm just curious about the approach to the match. I hope they both have a very attacking approach to the match in terms of, especially their wicket taking, and the batting is relatively swift and aggressive, not unlike Bazball, although Bazball, well, they beat the New Zealand Bazball beat India, didn't it? In the
Yeah.
Test series.
Well, then they're just. I think the wickets that were being played on, and I do think, England and Pakistan was a good example. I had dinner with Graham Gooch about a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that our guys, if you put them on a flat wicket, they'll get 800, but he was bemoaning the fact that he couldn't see, a technique other than sweeping. And even he said, and he was a prolific sweeper, that you just can't sweep every ball because you will get out if you keep doing that. So how are they going to, knock it around for singles? You understand why, and from personal experience, an effective sweeping is really disturbing to the bowler because the most effective length to sweep is a good length. So if your good length ball deliveries have been swept, what's your options other than that? So you can get a bit of a panic station on that. So he was bemoaning the fact of people just batting in a not a sort of desperate fashion, but being able to have a technique that could play the turning ball. And the best players in the world have that.
I look at Root now. Root's. Oh my God, how high is he going to go? He's the leading run.
He's only a young guy, so he could go on for some time.
He's got the potential to go past Tendulkar.
He certainly has, yeah. And I think he obviously was disappointed to lose the captaincy, but after, and sometimes, as you know, the cricket that you've watched in Australia, once they have been a captain for a while, they tend to retire or disappear or whatever. There's not too many people who are captains and continue to play for a long time. But Joe Root seems to be that type of bloke. He's just happy scoring runs and hundreds and whatever. I think he's very keen to nurture Harry Brook. They both played for Yorkshire.
What was? Oh my God! That 300 he got. Wasn't that magnificent? Oh my heavens!
That's extreme. So going back to the Indian seam attack.
Yeah.
If you, and it shows the importance of Bumrah. If you took Bumrah out of the attack, you'd think, well, where are they going to get 10, 20 wickets with the other remaining bowlers on a wicket that doesn't have a reputation of spinning? So it shows you how important Bumrah is. The Australians, it would be a loss if Mitchell Starc didn't play, but you still back the other three, the other guys to bowl people out. I just think Bumrah is such a big player for them. That actually,
with the added burden of being captain as well,
I think that's motivated to begin with, Norman. I think the thing that wipes. I don't think there's any drama about tactical decisions. These are international cricketers. They see see how the game ebbs and flows or whatever. The thing for me that wipes out captains is having to go in front of the media when you're losing, and that just chips away at you forevermore. And I'm sure, when it comes to the end of the line for Rowett, that will be the thing that will be the deciding feature.
Well, Bumrah's only really keeping the seat warm with Rowett on paternity leave, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rowett could be out the second match. There's some conjecture whether he's back or not, but I think it's going to be an amazing series. I really do. I mean, I'm sorry we haven't covered more of the England series. There's been some great work there, especially when they played that 800. Was it what 800 and what did they get 890 or something? It was magnificent. That was such an impressive. I know it was a relatively flat track, but that was some great batting.
What flat though. So, but it's fair play to Pakistan. They decide, well, we're not going to play on that. We're going to make it spin. The intrigue with Pakistan is who is actually going to be the coach for the next game, because it just seemed to change it all the time.
Gillespie's already on. I believe Gillespie's been sacked.
What, from the red ball or the white ball or both?
Good. I don't know about the red ball, but he's on the out on the short form. I don't know what's happened. Whether it's him or some Pakistan just schmozzle. They also got rid of Nina Dar, who was the captain of the women's Pakistan team. She
Yeah.
was captain one game, and then within 2 or 3 games, she's not getting a central contract.
So the mystery of Pakistan cricket, and one we could be on here for about 3 hours talking about that.
Oh God, yeah. But there's a lot of strong. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it looks like for some strange reason they've ousted Gillespie, and I can't believe that. He did such a great job with them in such a short space of time, and we all know how good he is.
The reaction sometimes to Pakistan losing is quite extraordinary, to say the least, and not dissimilar to Sri Lanka from time to time.
Yeah.
And India, probably because they have such a fine stock of players, don't seem to make so many sort of left field decisions all the time. So, and I don't know whether in either Pakistan or Sri Lanka there's a lot more government influence. Bangladesh seem to be the same thing as well. They seem to be slightly all over the place. So yeah, the point that's been made about Shiraz is really good. I think he's their quickest bowler, but when things are good with him, he can be really successful. You can get a shed load of wickets.
Absolutely.
I think they've played. I don't know. He's been walking around the grounds for the Test match against New Zealand, and certainly in the last two. I didn't see the first one, but the last two, he wouldn't have. He probably bowled about 5 overs in the match or something like that. So, he hasn't had a lot of practice with the red ball. So, but it's good. Suddenly it's not. You're not talking about a guy making his debut.
No.
And I think that Bumrah will probably get the best out of him as a bowler. So
I think so.
Yeah.
We've got Arun Singh talking about key battles between Siraj and Head. That certainly is one. Joswell and Hazelwood, yes, there's one there, I'm sure. Coley and Cummins, yeah, punts and liners. Pretty good combinations going on there.
Yeah.
Good battles.
No, it's very good. Aaron has lined up the bowler and batter quite accurately, actually.
Very well.
One thing's with Pant versus Lyon, there won't be any blocking going on there. He'll be running straight down the wicket. So
very exciting, actually.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, I think when it's written like that, Norman, it shows what a high quality series it's going to be. So,
gotcha.
Let's hope the weather doesn't intervene.
Marty John's asking whether he should bat or bowl who in the toss. I think he almost inevitably should always bat. I think. Although there's been a trend to bowl first, isn't there?
And I've always thought that that's a pretty defensive thing to do. I go back to when Nasser was saying put Australia in Brisbane, and that backfires, and it backfired because it was a weak decision. The wicket was a little bit damp, but you and I know, or you know more than me, the heat in Brisbane dries the wicket out in about 5 minutes, so it doesn't make any difference there. So it was
interesting how we got Brisbane as the third test this time, not the first as well. That's
so why have they changed the established system?
They're not happy with Brisbane. There's so many issues there. There's been some issues with the pitch, preparation for the pitch, having been used heavily for Aussie rules. They're struggling with it actually. They can't make it the first test. And of course, they end up being the 5th test on the series last time, so a bit all over the shop. In fact, the Gabba could well be a ground they could miss altogether, because Bloodstone in Tassie is doing really well. They could easily use that. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
That would be a disaster if you didn't play at the Gabba.
Yeah, but there's a lot of negativity going on there, I can assure you.
All right. Well,
okay.
I know lots of Australians have some certain views about other parts of Australia, particularly in Brisbane and in Western Australia. But, no, I think.
Well, they're not happy. They're not happy.
Really good series. England are playing New Zealand roughly around the same time, so there's a bit of cricket going on.
And that's again in New Zealand, isn't it? England-New Zealand series. Very close. Okay, a couple of quick questions. Steve Smith, the highest scorer in BGT. You could say that you'd think that he might well go there. I'm predicting Kawaja will go well. to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think they are the two dependable batsmen, and people sort of make comments about Steve Smith's technique, which does change from time to time in terms of his
Yeah.
feet position. Yeah, but his record speaks for itself. I think Khawaja is a really underrated player.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
and I think that he's a really effective scorer now. So
So Arjun's is asking, what's the mood around Australia's about the Aussies? Because they're understanding India is an underdog and can Aussies afford another home series loss. The truth is, we haven't beat India on Australian soil for over 10 years, which is a heavy motivator. India's form in against New Zealand was bad, but
yeah.
Australia's the wounded Indian team can be quite dangerous. I can assure you.
Yeah, well, they won't be rushing to go on social media after they played New Zealand. That was a certain thing. So they're under a higher level of pressure. Everybody's under pressure, but just where Indian cricket sits within the nation is massive. So
Now,
yeah, they'll be
has
under pressure.
Ashton's got a chance of playing, or not in the first test, that's for sure.
I personally, well, we haven't seen the wicket, so if it's a flat wicket, normal, they'll try and play two spinners. That's just the way they play.
Yeah,
They think that Jadeja and Ashwin can get people out on flat wickets, and they're dead right. So I think it has to show signs that you definitely need three seamers, effective seamers to be able to work on it. But India are very reluctant to go that way, I must admit.
absolutely. Okay, again, there's a constant reference to Australia's got the upper hand over India. Um, Home soil, yes, you could say that, but having been beaten by them, not beaten them, that is India, you can't say that at all with any conclusion. Really, we haven't been winning games out of our skin here against India, so I'm very worried. I mean,
I'd be interested to know what the mood of the camp is with Australia, actually, because I know one day it's a different team in the one day side, but their form in that was pretty erratic in terms of, and it all seems to be stemming from how many runs you can get.
yep.
Labuschagne is he's struggling. He's a bit of an inconsistent scorer. The guy who gets more runs than anybody else is the keeper, Carey.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's gonna,
suggesting he back anywhere out, but if you were going to use the word consistency, I would attach it to Khawaja as one and Carey as the other.
I agree. It's going to be interesting though because they've got Josh Inglis penciled into the squad. Now he is a keeper, but I think it's more his batting than his keeping. But it's intriguing how they've got him there. Are they thinking about using him as a keeper? It's going to be interesting where they
not in a test match. I think you've got
probably
to have
not.
your best keeper.
Yep,
You drop the wrong people, then that's there's a heavy penalty for that. So,
that's true.
and the wicket keeping fraternity would be very upset if Carey was axed. And it's not as if he's gone dropping lots of chances. He does drop the odd one, I would have to say. But
And his batting has become more consistent. You said you're right.
and batting when they need him, that sort of. I'm not saying he's a Gilchrist number 7, but he can bat Australia out of some tricky positions. And I'm not saying they have to get 500, but he can turn a 200 to a 300, and then you unleash Australia's attack, and they can defend 300 against anybody on any sort of wicket. Combination of the three seamers and Lyon as well. So.
All right, predictions. Now, if we had Adam Hollyoak here, he'd be stirring me. I'd be saying 7-0 India or something, as he normally does. But what do you think, realistically?
I think that if there's decent weather, I think there'll be a lot of results because I don't think the two batting sides come into the series absolutely brimming full of runs. No. They're going to just get 500. So, in that respect, I think it would be a really interesting series. I would have to say you mentioned the 800 that England got. That was like watching paint dry, Norman. It was just such
But I
so.
like that. I like that.
Well, I liked it when it was spinning square because that's a real. It's a real test of the bowler and the batsman. So I really enjoyed. I know it's from one extreme to the other. Um, how they play, I think that home advantage is massive in Australia, and particularly if you're coming from a country as good a players that India have, that don't have the bounce in the wicket. The bounce in the wicket will be the thing that will undo quite a lot of the Indian batsmen. But let's see what happens. So you're
All right,
asking me who will
predictions.
win.
Predictions.
I think that I don't think every game's going to get a result, but I would suggest that Australia will win 3-1.
3-1 with a draw. Okay. I'd love it to be 2-2 coming into Sydney. That would be fantastic. It'd make great excitement for that last Test match.
Yeah,
I'd love it to be 2-2, but uh, I'm still saying someone's going to win 3-2, and I don't know who that is at this stage. But
well, you
having
guarantee the weather. If you can guarantee the weather, Norman, then well played you. But seems to be a lot of rain in Australia at this stage, isn't there, or not? Or is
yeah,
that just
Sydney was yeah. Sorry, Sydney certainly has been up and down. Melbourne has been too. You're right. There's been a fair bit of rain about, and yeah, it's hard to know whether it'll stick around for the rest of the next month or so, but it could well do, which would make things quite difficult, at least in one of the matches. Adelaide will be fine next week, or week after.
yeah? No. Which is the day night one? Adelaide.
Uh, Great question. I don't
Or
know offhand. Normally it's Adelaide, but I think they've moved it to Brisbane.
all right. So that's a really good idea, isn't it? They're worried about the wickets, so let's have a day-night game where the game is definitely shorter. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's
Well,
how I see
I've got
it.
that
So
magnificent room. I've got that magnificent room in Adelaide, in the inside the Oval. You have to stay there one time, David.
right, I will do. But I will. I'm available to come on as and when you want, Norman. So
Thank you.
just
I'll have a regular show based on all the Test matches. So Chris was going to be here today. I've got a few others coming through.
yeah.
With Buria and the like. They're all going to be around.
I thought you retired. So,
Well, no, I haven't. I had a sabbatical, as I'll describe.
that's not a problem with that. Quite right too. So yeah. So I'm going to have to go off and do some
Thanks,
work.
David.
And I look forward to. I'm glad to see you. You're in good health. And
Likewise.
what is that T-shirt? Is that?
It's Bar Italian. It's one of my favourite Italian restaurants here in Sydney.
Yeah,
I'll take it if you come to Sydney. It has the best pasta. Oh, it's made on the premises, fresh as all hell,
yeah.
and the best salads, artichokes, everything in it. Wonderful.
And the relevance of the shark, is that for any particular reason?
Good question. It was a part of Leichhardt, which is really a Balmain territory, which is tigers. So no, it's been there since 1952. So no, I don't know with no any significance of that.
No, don't worry.
The guy's pretty large who runs it. Maybe that's more of a personal picture, a personal depiction there. Not
Okay.
sure.
All right,
70
Norman.
odd years. All right, take care. David, thank you very much.
That started before even I was born, so it is old.
Exactly.
Norman, see you soon.
Thanks, David. Wonderful having David on, as usual. He's wearing an England top, by the way, which I wasn't sure what was going on there. He's still on.
Trying to get off. So there you go.
Do you want me to take you off?
Yeah.
All right. So that was great. I mean, David looks healthier than ever. He looks younger, as a matter of fact. David has some 981 wickets at county level, quite in first-class bowling. It's brilliant. So let's have a look at some of these questions. I believe Steve Smith will become man of the match. Yeah, a lot of support for Steve Smith. He hasn't really performed. He had pretty ordinary opening batting stint. He's back at 4 now, so we'll hopefully see him get runs. 3-1 in favour of Australia, Mitch says as well. Well, I'm saying 2-2 and anyone's game for the fifth. Aaron Six says, what about the banter? Coley will be waiting for someone to throw him up. punt would be chirpy beyond the stumps. He certainly will be. If he's not keeping, by the way. He does look like Arun. It looks like he's not keeping. Jarrell will be the keeper, and punt will be there simply as a batter. Oh, we've got a full hour here, guys. We've had a good session today. David joined us. In summary, we've talked about the Australian Test team and the Indian Test team. Made some decisions there as to who the openers and who the bowling lineups will be, in particular with India. We'll have Jarrell as the keeper and Punt as one of the batters. Well, whether KL Real gets a go or they'll leave Sarfraz Khan in there. I wish they would, but they probably won't. Jaswal and Padikkal seem to be the ones in the place of, well, with Gill not there, and of course Rohit Sharma. And bowling lineups, Bumrah will lead the charge with Siraj and perhaps have Jadeja there without Ashwin this time. Washington Sundar, I'm not sure. This guy called Reddy seems to be ready, in the true sense of the word. Are you concerned about Magnus Labuschagne? I would say I am. He's claiming to be the next Pujara. Well, I don't know. I think he's not in his best form, to be honest with you, at all. All right, guys, we seem to have had a good session there. A lot of great names back. I can see there on the list. Martin, John, and the clock. A lot of great people. So, in passing, Australia will win the first test, perhaps the second, but certainly India will win two more, making it 2-all, leading into Sydney in early January in 2025 with a victory to whom? Australia or India? I'm leaning towards India, having seen them win that one handsomely last time in Brisbane. The reality is that Australia has not won against India in over 10 years. Stacked against Australia a little bit. There should be a home ground advantage, yes, but I don't know whether it's going to be the case necessarily. We'll see. So look what other comments we've got here. 2-all with a draw series. I don't think so, manager. I think it'll be a result 3-2. Our both bowlers will hold the key, similar to the Gabba 2022. I kind of agree with that as well. Can't wait for tomorrow. Himanshu's all chomping at the bit. 2-all now. It's going to be 3-2 to someone. Again, Perth probably will go Australia's way. Then Adelaide, second, will be Australia's way again. Brisbane will go Sydney. Brisbane will go Australia. No, sorry. Brisbane will go India. Melbourne will go India, leaving Sydney to go which way? Is it going to be Sydney for India or Sydney for the likes of Australia? Interesting. Frank Martin says, you're underestimating. I'm underestimating Australia? Well, they haven't won there in over 10 years. Come on. Let's not think I'm underestimating at all. Himanshu, I'm backing Australia to regain that this time around. Well, Himanshu, I'm glad you're supporting us. I'm not convinced. I want to see how things pan out. Don't forget the fighting spirit of the Indians last time, having lost 9 or 10 of their 11 players, playing with all these young debutants, the Washington Sundars, the Shadul Thakurs, you know, obviously they had Siraj there, they had punts in form. It was really a great series. All right. Any more questions, guys? Because I'm about to leave now after a good hour on the blow up. We'll see. So, okay, we got a question. Norman, how many catches do you think will Carroll get for the series? Well, he needs to get half a dozen to a dozen to make it a stamp of approval. And look here, we got behind me there. You can see there the 1948 Invincibles, and Don Bradman was behind there. 48 Invincibles included Bradman, of course, and Neil Harvey, who's someone I know very well. I think Arthur Morris was in there as well. Keith Miller, what an incredible side that is. Arthur Morris, Keith Miller, Neil Harvey, obviously Bradman, amazing. Glory to George Bristolier, glory to Sassany. There we got the Sassany outfit right there. No, how many oh, you've already answered. All right, so we're all done. We're all done. Any further questions? Any more questions, guys? While I have a chop on my chicken. Up at Shabu. I'm going to watch it live in Stadium Perth. I'm trying to work that out now as we speak. I'll be in Adelaide for sure. Obviously Sydney, Melbourne I should be, but Perth I'm just tossing up when I want to go there. Tomorrow that is. All right, everyone. Take care. Stay tuned. I'll have a session tomorrow leading into the test and a session later in the day. We'll be here every day. We'll have David and the like on to talk about it. So stay tuned and join Eyes on Sports. And I might just finish with a thank you to you all because I've reached 50,100, in fact, 50,100 subscribers. 50,000 is a magnificent number for me, with 15 million plus views. 50,000 subscribers with 15 million views, and in total, roughly 7,500 views per video that I've produced, of some 2,000 odd that I've produced. I'm very happy with it. So again, 50,000 subscribers, tick, thank you very much. 15 million plus views, tick, thank you very much. On top of that, 7,500 average per video of views, and of course, some 2,000 videos in total. So there we are. That's my story. Any more questions? Are you going? Where's your friend Sani? Aparna Sani. Yeah, she's been heavily studying on them. She's been off doing some practical work. She's around though. You have a Scottish touch to your Aussie accent. Do I? Bring her on the live show. I'll try to bring her on the live show. And of course, Aparna Sani. We had some time there, of course, with Rapakshi as well. Janitor Shimona, she's back. Janitor Shimona has made the Bangladesh women's squad yet again. I'm very proud of her. We'll get some surprise people. Jaina Alam, Nita Dar might be on. Lots of surprises there coming up. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye. Last question, MC, what is it? What's the last question? Quick. You put all these little rainbows here. What's the last question? Last question before I go. Why is Kerry Ronchild not selected? Kerry Roncholi, who's that? You mean Ronchi? Luke Ronchi, you know, he plays for New Zealand. Why is Kerry, I don't know who Kerry Roncholi is, who got me there. That's a shock. All right. Hugh William, I don't know who that is. I mean, Alex Carey? Runchol? I'm not sure who Runcholi is. He? No, I can't comment on that one. All right, guys. Stay tuned. Okay, now how Perth Pitchers going to behave tomorrow. Mukakuri. Look, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be fast, bouncy, as it always is and always was. Taking turn, I doubt it. Not much. I'm pretty sure we're going to want to win the first test. That's what we'll be trying to do. All right, guys. No more questions. I'll be saying goodbye. You take care. I'm going to end this now. Don't forget, stay tuned on Eyes on Sports with a Z or Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnek. Come back soon and watch the next one will be tomorrow. All the best, guys. Take care.